Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Elise, and today I want to talk to you about all of the books on my March TBR. This month's TBR is not quite as ambitious as my last couple, and I'm kind of excited as well because, my science fiction book club Libranauts is doing a March book pick. The live show for it isn't until April 2nd. I have the entire month of March to just relax, read. Good news for me because March is my birthday month. The first book I want to share with you is the Libranauts book pick for the month of March, which is Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. If you don't know what this book is about, this is, of course, the book that the movies are based off of. Scientists have, what did they do? They were able to extract dinosaur DNA that was preserved in amber and clone a bunch of dinosaurs, and they put them all on this island, and they thought it was a great idea, and it wasn't. I have never read this book before. I'm only familiar with the movie. I'm super intrigued. The movies are fantastic. Like, is the book going to live up to the hype of the movies? I guess we'll find out. The live show for this one is Wednesday, April 2nd, 7 p.m. Eastern on my channel with my co-host Heather of Books and Heather. The next book I want to read is an arc. Let me pull up the synopsis because I can't remember what it's about. This book Will Bury Me by Ashley Winstead. This one is set to come out on March 25th. It's a mystery thriller. I've read by this author before. I loved In My Dreams to Hold a Knife, really liked The Last Housewife. Didn't care too much for Midnight is the Darkest Hours. I'm a little apprehensive about this one, but this one is a chilling, compulsive story of 5 amateur sleuths whose hunt for an elusive killer catapults them into danger as the world watches. It's the most famous crime in modern history, but only she knows the true story. After the unexpected death of her father, college student Jane Sharp longs for a distraction from her grief. Am I recording? Okay. She becomes obsessed with true crime, befriending armchair detectives who teach her how to hunt killers from afar. In this morbid internet underground, Jane finds friendship, purpose, and even glory, so when news of the shocking deaths of 3 college girls in Delphine, Idaho takes the world by storm and sleuths everywhere race to solve the crimes, Jane and her friends are determined to beat them. I don't love books that have a lot of true crime aspects, which I probably should have thought about before I requested this arc. That's not to say I won't like it. I very well could. The next book I want to get to is The Resurrectionist by A. Ray Dunlap. I don't really remember what this one's about either. I remember it is gothic. I think there's like grave robbers or something. So it kind of reminded me a little bit of Anatomy of Love Story by Diane Schwartz, is that her name? It's a portrait of the medical student as a young body snatcher. Yet I must insist that in the end, this is not a story about death. It is perhaps a life story, or even, yes, a love story. So yeah, like Anatomy of Love Story. It is a story of how I clawed my way from the decay of a crumbling legacy into the modern era of reason and science. It is the story of how I escaped the prison of archaic superstition to the freedom of enlightenment. It is the story of how a rose can blossom from even the bloodiest soil, of how light can grow from shadow, how love can grow from despair. This, dear reader, is the story of my resurrection. It says, a dazzling debut novel of dark academia in the early 19th century, The Resurrectionist brings to life the deliciously macabre adventures of a young medical student lured into the illicit underworld of body snatching. Historical fiction, true crime, and romance intertwine in the harrowing tale of murder, greed, and the grisly origins of modern medicine. This also takes place in Edinburgh, Scotland. Is this like a non-YA ripoff of Anatomy of Love Story? But I did love that book, so perhaps I will love this one as well. Next up is The Wedding People by Alison Espach. From what I have heard people talk about, this is a story about a woman who is not doing great mentally in life, and she accidentally crashes a wedding that's going on at some resort somewhere, befriends the bride, and they become like besties or something like that. A propulsive and uncommonly wise novel about one unexpected wedding guest and the surprising people who help her start anew. In turns absurdly funny and devastatingly tender, Alison Espach's The Wedding People is ultimately an incredibly nuanced and resonant look at the winding paths we can take to places we never imagined and the chance encounters it sometimes takes to reroute us. I've heard amazing things about this. Obviously, this was one of the finalists for the Book of the Month 2024 Lolly. I don't think we know the winner yet of that, but this was one of the 5 finalists. So likewise, another finalist for the 2024 Book of the Month Lolly was The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. I originally was not not at all interested in reading this. I heard that it's kind of true crimey, or there's like a murder investigation, but I may or may not be working on a project that requires me to read this book. And oh my goodness, this is a chunker of a book. Good gracious. Okay. A lot of people seem to love it. By the way, I got this copy from Amazon. They don't give a hoot about the books. Like, this cover is dinged and bent, like really bad. It's just not in great condition. When a teenager vanishes from her Adirondack summer camp, two worlds collide. So immediately I'm thinking of The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. Early morning, August 1975, a camp counselor discovers an empty bunk. Its occupant, Barbara Van Laar, has gone missing. Barbara isn't just any 13-year-old. She's the daughter of the family that owns the summer camp and employs most of the region's residents. I'm sorry? The Last Time I Lied? Why are all these books sounding like other books? This isn't the first time a Van Laar child has disappeared. Barbara's older brother similarly vanished 14 years ago, never to be found. Most ambitious and wide-reaching novel, The God of the Woods is a story of inheritance and second chances, the tension between a family and a community, and a history that will not let any of them go. To be honest, I'm not like super excited to read this one, but as I said, I'm reading it for a project. Very curious to know what I'll end up thinking of it. And then the last book that I have on my TBR for the month of March is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. This is a bit of a backlist. I think it is sci-fi fantasy-esque. This is book one in the Broken Earth trilogy. It starts with a great red rift across the heart of the world's sole continent, spewing ash that blots out the sun. It starts with death, with a murdered son and a missing daughter. It starts with betrayal and long dormant wounds rising up to fester. This is the stillness, a land familiar with catastrophe, where the power of the earth is wielded as a weapon and where there is no mercy. I've heard amazing things about this series. It's been on my TBR for a while. Also a bit of a chunker. So I do have some like longer books. Even, well, The Wedding People is probably like $350 at least. $363, in fact. The Resurrectionist isn't quite so long. I'm gonna say like $320. $319. Huh? Jurassic Park. I'm gonna say like $275. This one's not super long. Epilogue. Oh gosh. They're very thin pages because this is 400 pages long. All right, there you have it. Those are all the books that I plan to read in the month of March. Let me know in the comments what you're most excited to read in the month of March. Thank you so much for watching. Please do remember to like and subscribe, and until next time, bye.